So today we're going to change out this Moen bath faucet set. We're only going to change the faucet valves and mixer itself, as the tailpiece and the stopper portion are still in fine shape. And this was a Moen unit, and I love Moen faucets. They have great customer service, and I'm not sponsored or anything like that, but these folks have been very good. And a little background was, originally back in the late 80s, I had bought a set to replace the original 1966 Gerber faucet. This set here uses a cartridge and is guaranteed for life. And instead of having the rubber washer on the stem and all that. So hot water is usually the one that goes. The rubber deteriorates. But on these Moen faucets, they've been terrific. So the first set lasted for quite a while. Years. I think about 10 years. I had registered the faucet set, and I needed a part. I called up Moen customer service, and they called back. What a perfect service. They're busy. You leave your phone number. They call you back when there's an agent to talk to, and they call you back. It's computer driven, and I talked to the guy that day, and I says, my problem is that the chrome has come off one place. So he said, oh, well, they still make that one. We'll put one in the mail for you. Sure enough, no cost to me. It arrived in the mail, and I installed it. And that was back in, 1995, I think. So here's what's happened with this same identical unit. We noticed that the hot water didn't want to turn on and off very well. It was hard to turn, thinking it might be the cartridge. I took the knob off and found once again that the chrome, I don't know if you can see that, the chrome had started to come up and was rubbing on the bottom of the knob and keeping it from turning easily. So I scraped it away, and I says, all right, well, let me check with Moen. Well, Moen doesn't make this unit anymore. Guaranteed for life as long as they make the parts. Yeah, that body is what I need. That's not going to help. Well, I got some pretty good service. Here it is, 2020, and we're going to change this unit out. So I went to the big box store, and I got this unit. It's quite a bit the same, little different knobs, but pretty similar. And again, it's a complete set with the tail piece and the stopper control for the rod. And so we're going to change it. So first thing I got to do, we got to shut the water off. Otherwise, we're going to make a mess. So first thing we got to do is we got to shut the water off. So we got a cold and we got a hot. Now, these shut-off valves have been in here since 1965, and I cannot turn the stem. I tried loosening the packing nut, and it's pretty well corroded there, and just from years of being in service, I didn't want to risk not being able to get the thing to turn and then have a problem and it leaking. So I did the next best thing. I shut the whole house off. That valve down in the basement worked pretty good. So now we're going to loosen up the flexible hoses. The water is off. I've drained the pressure off the lines, both sides. The hot water heater is shut down for the time being so it doesn't cycle and build up pressure on the line. I have a valve downstairs open, drained the line downstairs, but just to make sure. So we're going to loosen up these swivel joints on these two shut-off valves, and then we'll work on dropping the stopper lever control arm, getting that off. We're not going to change the tailpiece. The tailpiece is fine. And then we'll work on getting the unit, the faucet unit, out of the top of the vanity. Well, I guess it's going to want to run the flash. Okay, so you reach in here and you squeeze this clip, and that'll slide that off. I loosened the nut, that thing fell right off. So now we're good. Alright, our next thing will be to pull the stem out from up top. Stem, it's actually the stopper shut-off stem. Okay, I loosened and removed the flexible waterline nut there on the swivel, and now you got to go up to the bottom of the fixture and loosen that nut up, which I have done with a wrench, and unscrew that. You got to do that on both sides, and then we'll inspect these hoses to make sure that they're in good shape. Otherwise we'll just go replace them. They do have a little rubber seals in the end of the universal joint. And I don't know if you can see it in there. It's actually an O-ring. So if they're not looking like they're gonna hold up, we'll just go to the store and get some new ones. And yes, there's one on that one too. And that one's sort of a bevel shape, giving you kind of a taper lock seal. All right, then the next thing you gotta do is reach up in there and loosen and remove this nut up here. And see if I'm gonna, they make a special wrench for this. It's called a basin wrench for all this. I don't have one. So we're gonna go after it with a pair of, I guess they're kind of like channel lock pliers. Okay. I loosened it with the pliers. And that's really what holds down the faucet assembly. So I'm going to spin them off, and then there's probably a little bit of a gasket underneath the faucet, but it should pull right straight up. Stick assembly nut that runs up on those threads on the bottom of the fixture, and that pushes pressure up, actually pulls down on the fixture against the gasket and makes the seal at the top. The other thing you can notice is, even though I have the whole house shut off, I put a little bit of leakage here, and that's to be expected. And of course that's on the hot side, and I do have the tank, gas-fired tank, shut off, so the water won't be heated in the tank any hotter, but there's a little pressure there, and I'll have to go bleed some of that down, otherwise we're going to make a bigger mess. And this side is open and it's not bleeding, although it did drip a little bit, but I do have a catch basin down here. All right, so we got those two nuts off. Get up in here and see. Get those two nuts off, so we should go to the top. It should be able to be lifted right out. Other than maybe the gasket itself might be holding it down a little bit. Okay, now we're back up top. And I've taken everything loose and off downstairs. So the only thing holding it could be some gasket material, or I may have actually put a little silicone, just so that any water that was to lay up here wouldn't seep through and run down below the cabinet. So yeah, give it a little wiggle, and should come right up out of there. So now you can see where the corrosion, and it's really only the chrome plating. And it could be because of the age, it could be because of cleaning. Sometimes cleaners are a little more aggressive than you think, and they'll get along the edge of the chrome, cause the chrome to blister, but it's got an aerator in it, and it has a flow preventer washer in it. And here's the gasket that, okay, it's down here. We'll have to get this cleaned off good, and it'll come with a new gasket. So we'll clean that all off, and then we'll be back. Okay, now we're gonna open the box, see what we got. This is a complete kit. Like I said before, it includes the tail downspout piece, and the stopper rod control and all that, which we're not gonna need, but we'll save it. Let's see. First thing we got. Here's the important part. What do we got here? Registration card. That's important. Of course, you want to keep your receipt should you ever need a part, just in case. Everybody makes good stuff, but once in a while you need a warranty part. Like I said, it's guaranteed for life, folks. As long as you keep your original receipt, you registered your faucet with them, and they still make it. Now, if they don't make it anymore, well, that's what happened to us. They didn't make that body anymore. Still all the parts are the same, but they didn't make the body, and the body's what we needed. You got your instruction sheet here. Of course, it shows you what tools you should need. Safety glasses are very important. Little sealant maybe if you need to seal it. And you might need a little sealant on your pipe fittings. Depends on what you're using. And here we have the downspout, and the stopper shut off, tailpiece. Like I said, we're not going to use that. You've got the stopper rod. It's identical to the one we have in the sink. You got the body. Got the body here. Beautifully done. It's got an aerator in it. These handles use a small Allen screw if you ever have to take them off. The other ones used a little Phillips under a cap. We shouldn't have to take them off to install this, so we should be good. And oh yeah, there's the plate. Forms the gasket. I'm going to put a little silicone on this. It has a little bit of an indentation right here, and that'll help seal between the two units and makes a little bit of a dam so that any water that lands on the top edge there won't run down in the cabinet. Okay. You got your two assembling nuts that thread up on the body. Kind of pinch it down to the surface. And you got this cute little wrench. Alright, so next thing, I've cleaned off the top. It's all nice and clean. I had put a little bit of silicone on there when I installed the last one. And we're gonna put a little more clear silicone. This is clear bathtub silicone. Silicone and adhesive. Won't be much, just to make sure that it doesn't get any of these, because these tops aren't perfectly flat. They're close, but we're gonna do all that. And then I cleaned it off with a razor blade scraper that I had in the basement. Okay, so this is the gasket that they give you, and it's labeled top, front. So that's the way it's gonna go on there. So we're gonna flip it over. The bottom side, we got our silicone. We've cut the tip off. We're gonna put a little silicone all the way around it, right in that groove, and then we're gonna put it over there, and then we're gonna put the faucet assembly on top, and we're gonna put the assembly nuts on the bottom and pinch it together, sandwich it down in there. All right. Okay, here we'll put a little bit of the silicone in the groove. Doesn't need a lot. This will make sure that there's a good watertight seal between the fixture and the basin, so that when water gets splashed around, it won't sink up into the, or drip down into the cabinetry. Okay, we're going to place it over here. Again, it says front and top. We'll set her down there. We'll take the faucet assembly. Put that down in there. Okay. Sort of lines itself up nice. Get the two assembly nuts. And we'll run those up from the bottom. Okay, now next thing you want to do is you want to look down from the top. And what you're looking for is that the spacing is even. And mine was just a little bit off, but now I've tightened the assembly nuts pretty tight with a wrench. But because we put that little bit of silicone, if you put a little bit of pressure on it, not on the handle, but on the body, I was able to make it slide just ever so much and even it up. And now what we're going to do is we're going to wipe off the little bit of excess silicone very carefully. You don't want to get it all over the faucet unit. We're going to wipe that silicone off, and then we'll go back to working down at the bottom. But the other thing we can do right now is we can drop this rod down for the stopper rod. And that happens to be the old one. We can drop it down. It'll be loose. It won't be in our way for now. But we will not connect the tailpiece stopper control lift mechanism yet. We're going to put the hoses on. So I'm going to reattach the flexible hoses to the bottom of the body. You can sort of see it up there, and there's your rod. Okay, we're going to connect those hoses first and make sure they're tight, and then we'll connect the stopper pull-up rod to the tailpiece. All right, so that's what we're going to do next. But first, before we do that, I said before, we're going to inspect these guys and make sure that they're okay. Been in there a while, and kind of hard to see on the camera, so I'm going to shut the camera off for a minute here and give them a good look-see. So there we go. I've got the two hoses connected. I've got them tightened with a wrench. Oh, it's hard to hold this camera steady. I've got them all wrenched down tight. Okay, got them connected. And it would have been much easier, instead of using a pair of channel lock style pliers, some people call them pump pliers. It kind of depends on what the jaw shape is, and an adjustable, which worked. Using maybe a basin wrench on the top because it's really tight up there, but that's what that's designed for. Down here would be was no problem with the adjustable, but people often ask, why does a plumber or electrician charge so much? Well, you know, I'm just showing you my simple replacement. Where a plumber comes to your house, he doesn't know what he's going to find, because there's many different ways to engineer different items and different locales, and even though they all try to stay with the same code specifications, the man has to carry a lot of stuff on his truck to fit all the different applications, and he's got to understand what he's looking at in all different engineering applications. Yes, there was some engineering thought put to this, although it's very common stuff. He's ready to attack, or he or she is ready to attack the problem, so that when they leave the house, you're fixed. And in many cases, it requires changing everything. We were lucky; these hoses were in fine shape. There's nothing wrong with them. The gasket inside of them was fine. The swedge at the edge and all that looks great. So we're all reattached. A plumber would have to have these on his truck just in case he needed some. Some older setups used solid pipes. Some didn't have copper sweat coming out of the wall. They used plastic, or even older stuff could be galvanized. You never know what they're going to run up against. Plus, they've got all the schooling. Plus, they got all the liability insurance, just like a doctor, just in case something goes wrong. All right, so the next thing will be to get the stop rod connected and get the water turned back on. Probably a good idea we turn the water back on, but before we do that, we're going to wipe up any drips that may have gotten through while we had it apart. And we'll turn the water back on, we'll bleed the air out of the lines, and then we can work on putting the stopper mechanism back together, and then we can check it for leaks. So, because if there's any leaks, we may have to take something apart again, and that stopper rod mechanism would be in our way. All right, so we'll go turn the water on. Okay, I went downstairs and I turned the main water on. I had said before I bled some of the pressure off downstairs, and I bled the air out of that area downstairs, and we're going to bleed off the air up here. Just a second here. All right, so let's get a towel and check down here, see if there's any drips and everything. Now there might be some air here yet. Let's see what we got. Yep, got a little bit of a leak right there. Let's see. Yeah, a little bit of a leak right there. Okay. How's this one doing? This one looks like it's dry. Alright, first thing we're going to do is go up here and we'll bleed some air off. Okay, that was the cold. Leave the air off. Hot. Looks like it's good up there. Let's drop down here. Take a look. Okay, so we're back. So there was a little minor setback here. The flexible lines that were there, even though I inspected them and they looked really, really good, they wanted to drip way up there on the top fitting, because they were in there for quite a while. They didn't want to seal. And while I was working on putting the stopper pull lever in, I noticed there was a drip. So I tightened it a little bit, and that just didn't do it. So we made a quick run down to the box store there and picked up 2 new flex lines. And we have them installed. We've already got the water back on. We get it all tightened up. And of course, solved our drips. Alright, so now we're going to put the stopper lever rod in. Okay, so I slipped this clip on, and then slip the rod on, then slip the other clip on, give it a little squeeze, slide it up in here. Now lift the rod up. My lovely is now lower it down. Now lift it back up. Go slower though, don't rush. My lovely assistant up there is in a big hurry. Lift it up. Let it down. Okay, come down. Okay, come down. I have a mark on it. You're all the way down now? Mm-hmm. Okay. So we need to tighten the nut. Of course, we're going to have a hard time getting on it now because everything's in the way. Maybe we can do it better with a pair of pliers. Using one arm to hold me up and one arm to work the wrench. Now for the proper setting, that rod should be almost flush with the top right now. Okay, it's not tight. I thought it was, it felt like it was, it falsely tightened. Just a piece of sheet metal, put a bolt. Okay, now try that. Okay, so all the way down the stopper should be at its maximum, all the way up. Now the stopper should be all the way down in the neck and ceiling, and this nut here should be tight enough that it holds that rod with the weight out there on that leverage with the weight so that it doesn't drop and open back up on its own. Is it tight enough? Does it stay up by itself? Okay, we are finished. And now we'll just check. And there's a little tiny drip right here from the packing nut, so we'll tighten that up a little bit and we'll be good to go. But that's off this packing nut right here. Okay. The rest of the leaks look like they're good. So this model has a recess strainer. It comes with a little tool. If you want to remove the strainer and clean it, this little tool goes up in there and fits on there, a key, and you unscrew it, take it down, clean it out, put it back in with this nice little tool. So we got to keep this little tool, and we'll keep all the other parts that we aren't using in the box in the basement with the receipt, with a date, and of course we'll send in the registration, which I think we could do on the computer now. So that's the installation. It's not leaking. I do have to tighten the little packing nut a little bit, but we're done. It works. You pull a stopper, it holds, the stopper stays in position. Let's go nice and smooth. And the drain is clean, so we don't have to take that apart and clean it. If you did have to take this out, the best thing to do is loosen this packing nut right here on the stop rod. Pull the rod out. Take this plunger all the way out. This plunger I have fished through that stopper rod, so it pushes it up and down. So if you turn it around the other way, you can take it in and out without having to take the stopper mechanism rod out, but I don't like it like that. I like it to be attached. Right, the other thing that can happen with sinks is sometimes people forget there's an overflow. Here's the one on this one. Sometimes those tubes, not up here at the top, but down at the bottom down here where they let the air in, or where if it overflowed it would drain into the drain past the stopper and down into the drain, that spot in that tailpiece and the neck of this sink can plug up. Then it may not drain real good, or it might gurgle. So that's the end of the video. Again, I'm not a plumber. I'm just working on my own house.